Well, hello, it's me, the Dakota Kai guy, and I'm back today with more predictions. This time for WrestleMania 37. So we'll get right into things. WrestleMania, pretty terrible build for the most part. A lot of things weren't built the best, or at all, really. But that's beside the point. We're here to predict things, not discuss build. We'll start off with Braun Strowman versus Shane McMahon in a steel cage. Now, I feel like this feud has been treated better than most other feuds on this card. My prediction is Braun Strowman to win. But I wouldn't be surprised if, now this is very WWE and very Shane McMahon-esque, if they had Shane win either by, like for example, when he faced The Miz in a steel cage, he slipped through his shirt to beat The Miz, right? Or Braun Strowman power slams him through the steel cage wall, and Shane's feet hit the floor, similarly to how when Reigns speared Lesnar through the cage, his feet hit the floor and he retained. Or maybe Braun just gets tired of his shit and throws him over the top of the fucking cage, and Shane still technically wins, but Braun's still beating the shit out of him. So I feel like those are very WWE and very Shane McMahon type of things to happen. And if they do that, obviously they're going to drag the feud and Shane's going to be like, haha, Braun, you're stupid. You still lost to me. And something like that. So I wouldn't be surprised, but I don't see a reason for it to get dragged out. But then again, Shane feuds have a tendency to be dragged out. So I'm 50-50 on that one, but I'm predicting Braun. Next, we have AJ Styles and Omos challenging the New Day for their Raw Tag Team Championships. Now, the Raw Tag Team division is an absolute fucking just, it's non-existent, is what I'm trying to get at here. They break up their teams, or they have the teams that they do have fight in singles matches for some reason against random singles competitors rather than competing as team. I don't know. I don't know what they're doing. But AJ Styles and Omos are here to save the Raw Tag Team division, okay? Hear me out. AJ Styles and Omos are going to become your new Raw Tag Team champions. And I mean, yeah. Personally, I would have preferred if, AJ Styles had like a mystery partner and it happened to be returning Samoa Joe. I don't know if he's still injured or not, or what the deal is. He's still on commentary, but I think that would be much cooler. Come full circle. They've known each other for a long time. They've had their falling outs for sure, their feuds. I think it would be a cool little story to get into. But yeah, AJ Styles and Omos. I feel like it has to be them. I hate how the New Day beat the Hurt Business on a random episode of Raw for their tag titles. It made no sense to me. There's no reason for it, but it happened, and here we are. At least it opens the door for AJ Styles to become a phenomenal Grand Slam champion. Cesaro versus Seth Rollins. Solid feud so far. The match itself seems fairly predictable. I mean, I don't think there's anyone who actually believes Seth is going to win, right? Cesaro is definitely getting put over here. Seth is putting him over just as he did for Owens last year. Cesaro is going to win, and I mean, yeah, maybe it's the start of a push, or maybe it's just another little fucking cock tease WWE is doing. Like when he was getting a little push, and then at the Rumble, he did absolutely nothing and just got tossed out, and his momentum died down, and then he decided to show up on SmackDown and start spinning Seth Rollins around because Seth Rollins hates to spin. So yes, my prediction, Cesaro. I feel like that's just about everyone's prediction. Fairly predictable match, but it should be a great one nonetheless. Bad Bunny and Damian Priest versus The Miz and John Morrison. Now, this is what I meant when I referenced them having their tag teams compete in random singles matches for months. Miz and Morrison were doing random single stuff. Morrison had a U.S. title shot to replace Keith Lee. Miz has been doing single stuff for no reason. He was going to be in the chamber, but then he backed out, and then, he won the WWE Championship, which makes sense because he was Mr. Money in the Bank. But, he's having all these singles matches beforehand, and it really doesn't add up. Like, why? They're one of your, 3 tag teams that exist in your division. Why not use them for tag team matches? Because you're clearly lacking in that department. But this has turned into a rant about tag teams. I digress. My prediction, the Damian Priest and Bad Bunny will win. Now, I'll admit, I wasn't very fond of the idea of Bad Bunny coming into WWE. I had no clue who he was, and when he first started doing his little backstage segments, I wasn't, high on him. But he's grown on me. I kinda like Bad Bunny now. I started to become a little Bad Bunny fan, He's been growing on me in recent weeks, especially his promo last week, or not even last week, that was Monday. It was this week. He tried, he wasn't the best, but, you could tell there was effort behind what he was trying to say, and he believed in what he said. It flowed very well, which is more than I can say for a lot of people on the roster. Like, it's something Corbin even struggles with sometimes. Corbin's a good competitor, solid all-around wrestler, but he sometimes struggles in the promo department, making it sound like it flows and, like he believes what he's saying. Bad Bunny did an excellent job on Monday with that. So I think they're going to win and go over. I don't see any reason for Miz and Morrison to win, but I wouldn't be surprised if they did, just because WWE likes to be WWE. But yeah, they missed the opportunity to make this a grand champion versus champion winner takes all match. The 24/7 champion, fucking sensation, Bad Bunny versus the WWE champion, The Miz. Okay? Obviously that's a joke, but that would, this a 5-star match in the making. It just writes itself. Champion versus champion, winner take all. The Miz main eventing WrestleMania. I'm rambling. Moving on. The Turmoil Tag Team match to decide the number 1 contenders to the Women's Tag Team Championships. Lana and Naomi versus Dana Brooke and Mandy Rose versus the Riot Squad. Those other two could also be the Blonde Squad. Versus Natalya and Tamina, the most makeshift team you will ever see. Versus Billie Kay and a mystery opponent who is possibly Carmella, but also possibly not. I said opponent, I meant partner. I'm predicting now, I don't know the order that the teams are going to come out in, but my prediction is Lana and Naomi, solely so they could have a mini WrestleMania moment. I feel like, WWE's been trying to push Lana for a while. Charlotte was kind of slotted into her role because Lana got injured, and that got taken away from her, so I feel like they're going to give her a little mini moment here by allowing her to win on night 1 alongside Naomi, and they will be the number 1 contenders to the tag titles. Although, I wouldn't be surprised, if it was Natalya and Tamina, just because they've seemed to be getting the push these past recent weeks on SmackDown, or even Rose and Brooke, because you'd presume they'd want a face team to win, to have face versus heel, and for some reason they love Brooke and Rose, even though it's the fucking travesty of a team, fucking colossal clusterfuck, if you will. But yeah, any of those 3 teams I think have a legitimate chance. The Riot Squad were getting pushed at one time, but then it just kind of died out and disappeared a little. So I don't see them winning. But my pick, Lana and Naomi. And then the co-main event, if you would like to call it that, Sasha Banks versus Bianca Belair. The most poorly booked feud on the main, not even on the main roster, in the company as a whole, and probably all of professional wrestling at this point. You had everything in there, like, in plain writing, right in front of you from the get-go, but instead you chose to have these 2 women tag with each other, not once for the tag team championships, but twice. And not only was it twice, the second time was for literally no reason, because the first time they lost clean and they didn't even earn a rematch. They were just given one because they were feuding for the world title. Apparently, if you want to get shot at tag team championships, what you gotta do is feud with the world champion and you will be awarded a tag team title opportunity. So there you go. If you were wondering how to get yourself in that picture, now you know. But yeah, Bianca's gonna win. Fucking shit feud. The match should be tremendous. The booking of the feud and the storytelling just downright horrible. Only this past I don't even know if it was a couple SmackDowns. It could just be this past SmackDown. They actually fucking started having some tension. The bitch slap from Sasha to Bianca after they lost the title match was like the first sign of like a real rivalry starting to brew, getting some heat in there, some sort of story at the very least. I don't know. Bianca did not need to win the Rumble in order for this story to happen. If they were just going to do this nonsense, they could have had Rhea Ripley win the Royal Rumble and then face Asuka and Charlotte in a triple threat at Mania and book it that way. Have that feud going on so Rhea's not just off of TV for a month plus and reappearing demanding a title shot last second. And then have Bianca just do this tag team stuff with Sasha and then have that feud spark with some sort of betrayal or miscommunication. But, that's just, the women's division on both brands has been stupid. But yeah, Bianca Belair will defeat Sasha Banks, I believe, for the SmackDown Women's Championship. And then in the main event, Drew McIntyre versus Bobby Lashley. Now, why they pulled the trigger to break up the Hurt Business so early on, I will never know. Many people, including myself, are displeased with that decision. But, whatever, I guess. Drew McIntyre, I believe, in a fairly predictable manner, is going to Claymore Bobby's head off and become the WWE Championship, having a WrestleMania moment in front of fans this time, reclaiming his gold. I feel like, that's the obvious outcome. Everyone knows that that's what's going to happen. Should be a great match nonetheless. The match, whatever pay-per-view they had their match at, it was good stuff. Drew needed help to win, though. I forget what distracted Lashley, but something distracted him. And that's what Drew used to retain. So, I mean, they're very capable of putting on a great match, and there's no doubt in my mind that this will steal the show. But yeah, McIntyre winning the WWE Championship. I feel like that one's fairly predictable. Now, moving on to night 2. The Fiend versus Randy Orton. I think this one will open the show. Now, it's not going to be a cinematic match because cinematic match in front of fans wouldn't make sense. But I feel like the Fiend has to win. It wouldn't make sense for the Fiend to debut a new character, essentially is what it is, right? This is the burned alive version of the Fiend. Fucking possessing Randy Orton and stuff. It would make no sense for the Fiend to lose, and it would absolutely devalue and derail any momentum he ever had left since losing to Goldberg again. And, I mean, yeah, the Fiend has to win. Otherwise, it just doesn't make sense. I love Randy Orton. Randy Orton is amazing. One of my favorite wrestlers. He's always great at whatever role he's put into. But the Fiend is coming out on top, and I feel like that one is a little obvious. Then, Asuka and Rhea Ripley. A feud which irritates me so much because, like I mentioned before, she just appeared on Raw after being off of TV, off of a losing streak for a month plus. And it's like, Asuka, give me your championship. And it wasn't even a good promo, okay? At the very least, she could have cut a good promo and won people over. But instead, she did an abhorrent job. I digress. Asuka is retaining. If she doesn't retain, I will rant on Twitter until I am suspended again, which is probably sooner rather than later. But yeah, Asuka is going to retain. She should retain. There's no reason for Rhea to win. And I mean, yeah. Like I said, if they were gonna do this stuff with Bianca and Sasha, they could have had Rhea win the Royal Rumble, and then they could have had her turn heel on Charlotte after the fact. I talked about this when I was fantasy booking the Women's Rumble before it even happened. That Rhea wins by last eliminating Charlotte. Charlotte goes to congratulate her. Rhea pulls her in, and then yells at her for stealing her moment. Takes her out with the clothesline, grabs a chair, starts beating the shit out of her, and Rhea turns heel in the process. And then this would trigger some sort of tension between Charlotte and Asuka because Charlotte wants to get back to Rhea. And, so then she ends up turning on Asuka, not to turn heel herself, but just to get, in a position to face Rhea. She'll be like, I need to get, in order to face Rhea, I have to be a champion, so she could, select to face me at Mania. And then, they do that. She challenges. They have a triple threat. It's all so easy to book. Like, why? At least there's story there. It's stupid, is what it is. Again, I've gone very off course several times in this video, just because there is so much just nonsense going on in all of these booking decisions because WWE is absolutely insane. But I'll watch it anyways because that's what I do. And moving on, Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn. A feud that's happened kind of last second, but at least they put story into it again, unlike most of the card. Should be a great match. Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens always do great stuff, right? But Kevin Owens winning. Obviously, all Sami Zayn, and I feel bad for the guy. All he's been doing is getting squashed. His promos and documentary stuff has been top fucking tier, just fucking television gold, okay? It's been absolutely just... I am extremely sports entertained when Sami Zayn is on my screen. So at the very least, he's doing a phenomenal job with that. But he's going to lose. Hopefully he doesn't get squashed. Hopefully they give him some time, 10 to 20 minutes, maybe even 30. Depends how crazy they want to go. But it should be a great match. But Owens is coming out on top. Again, I feel like this is one of the more predictable matches on the card. And yes. So then Apollo Crews versus Big E for the Intercontinental Championship for about the 7th or 8th time. And that's probably not even hyperbole. I feel like they're going to have Big E win. Right? Because Big E is supposed to be getting a singles push. And to have him lose in the biggest event of the year wouldn't really make sense. But at the same time, if Big E does win, it kind of destroys Apollo Crews' new character. Because all he's done since turning heel is kind of, lose. And whatever the fuck that fucked finish was at Fastlane, they haven't referenced it at all. Never showed any replays. The only time it even got referenced was when Apollo Crews said it in his promo. He said Fastlane. And it's like the only time I heard it the entire time since that pay-per-view. So I don't know what happened there. That was just complete chaos. But I just don't see Apollo Crews winning. But I guess Big E does have to drop the title at some point if they're planning on putting him in the world title picture, which you'd imagine is the direction they're trying to head towards. So I mean, I would understand if they dropped it to Apollo, but I don't think I'd be pleased about it. And I think it makes more sense here for Big E to retain. So that's the prediction I am going with. Then Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler versus the winner of the Tag Team Turmoil match, who I predicted to be Lana and Naomi. And why they never pulled the trigger on them breaking up is beyond me, right? They should have just blown up, imploded the first time they lost the titles to Asuka and Charlotte, but they didn't. And furthermore, they should be the ones challenging Asuka, not Rhea Ripley. And if they're going to have Ripley there, they should insert Shayna and Nia. Because Nia has pinned Asuka before. Shayna just pinned Asuka on Raw. And Shayna's been trying to feud with Asuka, having like mini feuds for like the past few months. And it just never amounted to anything. So, I mean, they should be in the women's title picture. And yeah, people will be like, oh, it devalues the tag titles. And, I mean, I guess, depending on the way it's booked, that can be true. But if they book it correctly, it wouldn't devalue the tag titles at all. But it's WWE, so the way they would book it probably would devalue the titles a lot. But yeah, Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler versus Lana and Naomi. I feel like they're retaining. I don't know. Like I said, Lana and Naomi would get their mini moment in night 1, but night 2 I feel like it's over for them. I'd be genuinely surprised if Baszler and Jax lost to any of these teams in the Tag Team Turmoil match, regardless of who wins, just because it doesn't feel like anyone's in a legitimate enough of a position to challenge for those titles. So, I don't know. Like I said, I feel like it has to be Jax and Baszler. So they're going to retain, and they're going to continue doing crazy things. For some reason, Nia is in love with Reginald. I don't know what's happening anymore. Everything's just out of control. Vince McMahon forgot to take his medication, or he took too much, or someone replaced it with LSD, or a combination of the three at the same time. I don't know, but things have gone balls off the fucking walls, and here we are. Then, moving on, Sheamus versus Matt Riddle for the United States Championship. So, here's the story with Sheamus. He wanted to become a world champion. He failed at the Elimination Chamber. He wanted to get back into the picture, lost to Drew McIntyre, got upset, beat the shit out of Matt Riddle for being a pothead, and now he has a United States Championship match. So, I mean, yeah, Sheamus has been on fire for months now, and he's just been doing great stuff. He's one of my favorites currently, and I want him to win, and I'm predicting him to win. I don't see a reason for Riddle to retain. I was displeased in the fashion that Riddle won the title, because he shouldn't have had a title match, because all he did was lose to Lashley. However, the reign itself has been quite good. Riddle's done a great job, and I do find myself laughing a lot when he is on my screen. But that aside, I do want Sheamus to win, and I think he'd make a tremendous United States champion. I wonder how many times I use that word in this video. I need new words. Sheamus will be the new United States champion by the end of night 2. And in our main event, Roman Reigns, your tribal chief, the big dog, versus Daniel Bryan and the Royal Rumble winner, Edge. A lot of people are shitting on Bryan for being inserted to this match, but Daniel Bryan has been reinvigorated, right? There's been a fire lit inside of him. This is like the most invested I've been in Daniel Bryan since he was my favorite wrestler years ago, back when I was first getting into wrestling and not knowing anything about it. It's like the most momentum he's had, the most fired up he's been. Everything's going right. And I think him being put into this match is a great idea. It makes perfect sense. It doesn't devalue the match at all. It doesn't devalue the Royal Rumble, right? People make that argument. There's like, oh, Daniel Bryan, why win the Rumble if you could just get inserted into a match? And, there are certain times where I would agree with that claim, like Rhea just showing up after being on a losing streak and off of TV for a month and challenging Asuka. Meanwhile, Bianca had to win the entire Rumble to earn her spot on the card. Things like that are a little bit frustrating, and I understand when people say it like that. But in terms of this, Daniel Bryan's insertion to this match and feud could not have gone more smoothly. It was so perfect. All the promos and storylines have been great. The matches, just everything about it. 10 out of fucking 10. Everything between these three men has just been absolutely spectacular. And this is by far the best booked thing in the company. Which I guess isn't saying much, but this is really above the bar. In terms of winning the match, my prediction, the Tribal Chief, Roman Reigns. Now, my issue with Edge winning the Rumble was this. There was no reason for him to win, and even if he was winning for the sake of having his comeback, everything coming full circle, he's He's finally healed from his injuries. He wants his moment. He wants the championship back. He would just fall short at Roman Reigns because there's no way in hell that they're making him drop the title that early on. I don't see it. Unless Dwayne The Rock Johnson comes out in the middle of the match, rock bottoms the fuck out of Roman Reigns and costs him the match, I do not see Edge winning the championship at all. So that's why I feel like it was pointless for him to win the Rumble, because in the end, he's just going to fall flat, fall short, and nothing's going to come of it. So, I mean, I think Sheamus should have won. That's who I picked. You should see my fantasy booking video. Self-plugging. I booked Sheamus to win. But I mean, yeah. I don't know. I don't see Edge or Bryan winning. I wouldn't mind anyone coming out of this match as the winner. The feud has been so great, and all of these men are just amazing. I've been loving all the stuff they've been putting out there, and so I really wouldn't mind any one of these guys winning. But my prediction is Roman Reigns. I feel like that would make the most logical sense. If Edge wins, obviously he'd be pinning Daniel Bryan. If Bryan won, presumably he'd be tapping out Edge or submitting Edge. This tapping out shit's got me all off guard, man. I'm gonna tap you out. Just say fucking submit. You're gonna submit him. You're not gonna tap him out. You're not gonna tap for him. You're going to make him submit. You are submitting him. You are making him submit to you. You're not tapping him out. It's stupid terminology. It's dumb. It's very WWE. I digress. But Roman Reigns, yeah, like I said, I don't know. Someone else should have won the Rumble. Not Edge. But the feud that came after it has been just absolutely stellar. So I guess I shouldn't complain. But I still don't agree with the decision for Edge to win in the first place. But yes, that is my prediction. Roman Reigns is walking out, your tribal chief, and still the Universal Heavyweight Champion. And I mean, yeah, I was gonna say Roman Reigns, but I released his name before I announced the title. And Jey Uso will presumably be at ringside too. So I mean, Roman has basically got like a 2-on-1 handicap advantage practically. So yes, those are my predictions and rants about everything. I hope you enjoyed. Any feedback, anything you'd like to share, leave in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe as well. Thank you very much for watching and tolerating my ramblings, and I'll see you in the next video.